Hello friends, I'm going to start today's episode by throwing at you a pretty interesting fact. A fact that probably is going to be shocking to you if you don't know the power of symbols. And for those of you who know how important branding is, this one may be an obvious one for you. But we'll see how you feel in just a sec. So, do you know the most expensive thing that Nike owns? And I'm talking about Nike, the company. Do you know the most expensive thing it owns? It's not the company's quarters. It's not its factories in China. It's not its most expensive line of shoes. It's actually the swoosh logo. Nike is one of the biggest companies in the world, and apparently it is worth about $34 billion. That's a lot of money, right? But the crazy thing about that number is that the swoosh logo alone is worth $30 billion. In a more straightforward term for you, what this means is that Nike isn't a billion-dollar company because of its superior products or because of its excellent supply chain. It's a billion-dollar company because when people see that swoosh, they want to buy the stuff. When people see that swoosh, their mind immediately equates it to quality. Sure, if Nike didn't create high-quality products, that connection never would have been made. But now that it has been made, and the swoosh is one of the most recognized symbols in the world, Nike doesn't need to work as hard for brand recognition. The swoosh will always work in its favor. Their marketing is now easier than ever because everyone knows that Nike and what they stand for. If Nike's analogy didn't do it for you, I've got another one for you that might explain exactly what this episode is all about. And this one is all about Apple. Which, side note, I am a big Apple fan. My family the other day was playing a game where we had to drink the number of Apple products that we had. And let me just say, I chugged that water. The Apple logo itself is worth $50 billion, and by recent estimates, the Apple brand is worth around $200 billion. Now, why does this matter? Well, besides just being able to say some crazy numbers for you, these brands and these logos aren't worth this much for nothing. They are worth so much because they are an important aspect of the business. There's hardly any successful businesses where that doesn't have an equally marketable brand. And if you are going to build your business and market it effectively, you're going to have to do something about your overall brand. And that, my friend, is what this episode is going to be all about. I'll be looking at what your brand should be, what you should know about building a brand, and I'll show you the first steps that you need to take to make sure you aren't just building in the dark. Now, don't get me wrong, creating a brand story isn't something that can be fully explored in just a 10-minute episode. So after this, you're going to need a few extra lessons just to get yourself ahead. But also, let me just spill the beans a little bit. Over the next few weeks, every single episode that we do here together is walking you through, literally step by step, how I build a brand from scratch in the online world. However, I can reassure you that after this episode, you'll at least have an idea of what your brand should be and what it should actually look like. So let's kick it off with what branding really is in the first place, okay? Branding is creating a pattern of familiarity, meaning fondness, and reassurance that exists in the minds of people. Your brand is one way you distinguish yourself from other competitors. Now, aside from that, it is also a way of letting your customers and your clients know exactly what they can expect from you. Your brand is essentially what you think your business is and how it should actually be perceived. Sounds pretty easy, right? Well, the basics definitely are easy, but the creation of the brand itself can be pretty tricky, and you can easily lose your way and do more harm than good if you don't have a solid grasp of marketing, business, and something as basic as human nature. So since branding is concerned with how your business is perceived in today's world, it really comes down to how you are showing up in the online world. This usually, and I'm saying usually pretty confidently, is how people have that first impression of you. That's why the way that you act and behave on social media must be in line with your brand. Now, this doesn't mean you must look at a rule book before you post anything online. It just means that you have to be a little bit more careful and a little bit more mindful of how certain behaviors could affect your brand and how people perceive you on the internet. Now, friend, before you get to the hard work of actually creating a brand, there are 3 things that you need to know, which obviously these are my opinions, but When I'm helping my Spotlight Theory members or my one-on-one clients, these are the 3 things that I always start with when looking at their overall brand online. Which at the end of the day is really just making sure that you aren't wasting time creating something that actually won't resonate with your audience. So the first thing is, who are you talking to? I feel like I have been shouting this to the world lately, but seriously, if you have no idea or no concrete idea of who you're talking to, aka who are you trying to target with your message, if you don't know the answer to that, I want you to look back at every single person that you've worked with in the past. Who was your favorite client or customer and why? What about them did you actually like? Or if you don't have a favorite customer or client just yet, think about this. Who would your dream client or customer be? And then start digging a little deep into who they really are as a person. What age group do they belong to? What do they do for a living? Are they married, single? Are they in a relationship? Are they male, female? What do they actually do for fun? These are the questions that will help you better understand who you're supposed to be talking to. One important benefit of really understanding who you are talking to is that you have a clear understanding of what sort of message would attract them right to you. You would know what issues they are likely to be passionate about, and you would be able to build an inclusive brand that makes them feel welcomed at all times. The next question is the one that I always tell entrepreneurs to figure out before they even start a business. You don't just start a business because you think it would bring a lot of money in. There's gotta be a deeper meaning to why you do what you do. You really need to understand the value that you're pushing out into the world. Because people aren't going to just give you money for free. There must be some clear value of your offering to them. And that value, I often say, is the driving force behind your business. Consider Nike for an example. You could say that they are in business of selling shoes, and you would be correct in the way. But that's not the problem that Nike solves through its existence. Before Nike, they were sports shoes, and after Nike, they will always be sports shoes. But instead, Nike solves the problem of quality. Whenever you see a Nike shoe, you know that you're getting something of good quality, right? You don't have to bother about how long these shoes are going to last. You already know it's pretty solid. That's the kind of thinking that you should implement and you should put into your business. What problem does your business solve? When people hire you, what solution are they getting? What is the value that they're paying you for? Now, I'm sure you have the answers in your head. Now, although that is great, it's not enough. You actually need to put this in writing, and you have to be as concise as possible. If you are solving multiple problems, arrange them actually in order of priority for your customers, and then use that template to shape your brand's language, your content, and your goals. That way, once people see your brand, they at least have an idea of the value that you are offering. Now, after thinking of the problem that you're solving, you need to look at the solution that you're also providing. Do people appreciate the value that you offer? Do they like it? Are the results noteworthy? And you need to put this in writing as well, okay? These 3 answers that you've gotten are the things that will guide you on the journey of crafting your brand story and creating a brand that will make you stand out amongst your competitors. And once you bring these 3 simple answers together, you'd be able to build a cohesive brand story that features why your business exists, what solution it provides to the world, and would be able to resonate with the people that you are targeting. Now, you have to remember that it's important to be authentic as well. Yes, you are crafting a story, but you have to make sure that this story has an essence of your being. It can't just be any other story, because trust me, people smell inauthentic businesses from a mile away. In my experience, people are a lot more willing to accept or deal with the fakeness of celebrities than they are willing to deal with the same thing from businesses that they hire. Okay, so now what? Let's say that you've written out all these 3 answers down, okay? And you obviously want your brand to do what you want, aka make you stand out, generate more sales, increase your profits. The last step is to actually implement your brand story. It's not just as simple as knowing what your brand is all about. You have to put it out there into the world. The important thing to really understand is that every interaction you have with potential customers or clients, they matter. In the online world, you only have a few moments to grab someone's attention. So you need to make sure that your brand story shines through in just a glance. This comes down to making sure that the content that you're putting out speaks to that dream client or customer of yours, as well as shows off what your brand is all about. Who do you help? What do you do to help them? How do you help them? And what makes you ultimately different? You need to make sure that you are consistent with pushing this out into the world. When your message isn't consistent, it really becomes diluted and you won't have as much of an effect. That's why your brand story must be communicated seriously consistently and across all possible channels. You have to show your customers that your brand story isn't just another interesting story. You need to show them that this story propels how your business works, and it is very relevant to how your business runs. Customers who see that you are living up to the narrative baked into your business will be more willing to work with you as well. So if you run a business where you need to create products, you have to make sure that these products don't come out with multiple branding styles. They must all consistently tell the same story, now not necessarily in the same way, but with visible connections. The next step, of course, is documentation. I have met so many entrepreneurs who are only guided by a vague brand story that they've never actually written down and live solely in their minds. Well, that could work if your business is still relatively small, but it will create a bigger branding problem down the road. So take your time. Write down this process of creating your brand story and make sure that you know exactly what it is and what it's not. Make sure that you are accurate as possible with what the story is and remove any gray lines as possible. One company that I feel really has this process of documenting its brand identity is actually Burt's Bees, a retailer with a strong commitment to its mission and values, which are also published on their corporate website for everyone to see. So if you need some inspiration, make sure you go check them out. But as I've explained, your brand story, it's not just any other story. It's a way that your brand is seen, and it includes the technical component that makes your brand easily recognizable. And trust me, no matter how big your business is or how consistently you release your content, you can still make sure that same elements are there every single time. So here are some of the technical components that you need to get dialed in. You first have to decide on the logo, the fonts that you use, the visual style guidelines. So this includes your color palettes, font styles, your alignment style even. Now, aside from this, you also need to work with your brand story into things. So your slogan, your mission, your vision, your brand's value, even your brand's tone and voice. Now, I get it. If you are just starting out, you may not have this entire thing figured out just yet. Just know you are better off having a game plan now in the beginning before you blow up and really succeed. Plus, things are going to evolve as you and your brand actually evolves. It's a really cool process and it will never be perfect. But the day where you do have all of this stuff nailed down, you'll find that you'll be more recognized in your space. You'll portray a powerful image to your customers. It's pretty cool. But I'll leave it with you, friend. If you have any questions, thoughts, or even branding ideas, let me know. I'm always here to chat and brainstorm for you. But as always, friends, if you learned something new today, do me a favor. Like this episode. Share it with those who might need it. And finally, subscribe to my channel for more content like this and be a part of this amazing entrepreneur community that we are building. My name is Lisa Ann, and that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to me, watching me, and I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.